It's interesting that Jesus Christ is the most portrayed character in human history through paintings, through books, through movies and television. But almost all of the portrayals of Jesus are in his first coming, baby in a manger, kneeling down by the rock at Gethsemane, roaming the countryside, teaching and healing people. Very few pictures try to portray Jesus as he ultimately will appear to be, the King of Kings and Lord of Lords. And so that's what we do in the book, is focus on how he will ultimately appear. One, for example, we'll see him as his role as conqueror. We want a conqueror. The Jews missed Jesus the first time because he wasn't the conqueror they wanted him to be. Well, he will appear as conqueror when evil will be defeated forever. We want it now. We want that defeat to happen now. It's not going to happen yet, but it's going to happen eventually and for eternity, that Jesus is the answer to every problem we face right now.
Well, you challenge in this book, again, it's out, by the way, next Tuesday. It's called Jesus Revealed in the End Times, and you really examine the relationship that we have with Jesus and how we respond to him. In fact, you talk about several, what we might call large questions, of our biggest questions that you share. Tell me about those and really how you see that what the Bible has to say about the end times really helps us in addressing that.
Well, when we see Jesus return and rule over this earth in perfect justice, it will answer every question we have. For example, the question about why we're here. Colossians 1 tells us all things, including us, were created by him and for him. It's not talking about God the Father, that's talking about Jesus the Son. You know, Job asked the essential question of all time: how can a person be made right with God? Well, the answer is Jesus. Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man comes to the Father but by me. Everything, every important question we have is answered in Jesus. And there may be people listening right now who may be fearful of the end times because they don't know what the end times hold for them. If you want to know whether or not God is going to welcome you into his presence, look to Jesus. Jesus provides not just one way to heaven, but the only way to heaven. No man comes to the Father except by me. Jesus is the ultimate answer to every problem we have.
Well, this may be a question that may be dealt with in other books, but I think it's something that probably as a pastor you're asked this many, many times. Are we living in the end times? Is this the end times? I mean, we look around and say, things are getting pretty bleak. Is this a sign of his coming?
Well, I talk about that in Jesus Revealed in the End Times. The phrase end times is a technical phrase in the Bible that begins with the rapture of the church, extends through the tribulation, the second coming, and the setting up of the millennial kingdom. So we're not there yet. There's not been a rapture. You and I are still here, Bob. So I think we're not there yet. Yeah. I think we're getting closer and closer, but we are living in what Paul calls the last days. We've been in the last days for 2,000 years, ever since Christ's ascension into heaven, and every second that passes moves us closer to the end of the last days and the beginning of the end times. You know, Paul said to the Roman Christians, your salvation, that is your deliverance, is closer today than it was when you first believed 30 years ago. Every passing second moves us toward the inevitable end of times when Christ returns.